Most people never reach their goals not because they lack talent, but because they wait for motivation to strike. Discipline isn't a feeling, it's a decision. When you force yourself to move forward, even when you're tired, uninspired, or afraid, you build unstoppable momentum. Success begins the moment you stop negotiating with comfort and start commanding your actions with purpose. In a few moments, I will teach you how to force action, break limits, and achieve goals. No matter how you feel, you will never feel ready, but act anyway. You sit on the edge of your dreams, waiting for a signal, a feeling, a sign that today is the day to begin. But it doesn't come, does it? You wait for clarity, for energy, for a wind of inspiration to push you forward, but nothing arrives. That's because readiness is a lie comfort tells the hesitant. And you, my friend, are not here to be comfortable. What separates those who rise from those who rust is action, not confidence, not education, not even timing. Action. You must act while your hands tremble, while your mind doubts, while your heart stutters. Force yourself to begin. One step, one swing, one line. Not because it's perfect, but because it's time. That's the truth the winners know. The clock will never give you permission. You must seize it. Can you picture yourself walking into a room where every face is older, wiser, more experienced, and still holding your head high because you've decided to act as if you belong? That's power. And power grows the moment you move, before the doubt fades, before the confidence forms. Ask yourself, have you been waiting for a feeling to guide you? Have you allowed inaction to disguise itself as preparation? Have you let days pass because your courage hadn't arrived yet? If so, it's time to break that chain. Begin now. Not because you're ready, but because greatness never consults comfort. It demands obedience. You are the architect of your outcome, and the cornerstone is laid the moment you act. If you don't decide, life will decide for you. There is a quiet war happening inside you. One side demands motion, the other whispers excuses. But here's the truth. If you do not decide who you are, life will do it for you. Indecision is not harmless. It is not neutral. It is surrender. Each day you fail to declare your intention, you give the world permission to shape your path. You become a leaf on the wind of circumstance instead of the hand that shapes it. You must force yourself to decide, to say, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I will pursue it, even when I am tired, even when I am afraid. Can you recall a time when you let hesitation make the call? When you knew what to do, but you waited and lost the moment? You see, your mind is powerful, but it obeys only the voice of decisiveness. Picture a general standing before his troops, unsure of the plan. What happens? Chaos, confusion, weakness. Now picture the same general planting his sword in the ground, declaring his intent. Suddenly fear fades. Order rises. That's you when you decide. Ask yourself, what dream have you delayed with your silence? What goal have you buried under the weight of maybe? You cannot afford maybe. Life moves quickly. The tide shifts fast. Decide now. Even a flawed decision acted upon carries more power than waiting for the perfect one. You are the commander of your fate, but only if you act like it. Speak your mission, live it daily, and do not look back. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and achievement. Desire is common. Discipline is rare. That's why success belongs to the few. You can dream all night, but if your feet do not move in the morning, your dream is just a ghost. Discipline is not about harshness. It is about alignment. When your actions align with your vision, daily, without negotiation, you cross the bridge between the invisible. Many men fail not because they lack talent, but because they waited for motivation. Motivation is a guest. Discipline is a soldier. Imagine waking in the cold, your body resisting, your thoughts tempting you to stay warm. But you rise anyway. You move, you write, you train. That moment, right there, is where champions are born. You do not need to feel good to do good. You need only to obey your higher self. So ask yourself, what does your routine say about your destiny? Are your habits dragging you forward or backward? The disciplined man becomes his own master. He doesn't rely on mood. He commands himself. He forces himself. Build your discipline like a blacksmith sharpens a blade. Repetition, pressure, fire. Each act of discipline makes you sharper, stronger, more capable of carving your path. Discipline is not a punishment, it is your passport. Without it, your dream remains locked. With it, you hold the key. You must become the person who deserves your goal. A goal is more than a target, it is a test. It does not ask, what do you want? It demands, who are you willing to become? The world is filled with men who wish. Fewer are the men who transform. They stare at their ambitions like distant mountains, yet never build the muscle to climb. They want the view without the ascent, but the truth is brutal and beautiful. The goal is not far away. It's just on the other side of who you are right now. Look closely. That dream you speak of, that promotion, that respect, that wealth, that peace, it's a reflection, a mirror of the man who must exist to receive it. And if the man you are today is not ready, that dream will not bow to your longing. It will wait, not because it's cruel, but because it is precise. Only when you become the version of yourself worthy of the dream will the dream move toward you. Most men want more without becoming more. They hope to lead, but refuse to study leadership. They crave wealth, but resist becoming valuable. They demand loyalty, but never master their own integrity. And then they complain that life is unfair. But life isn't unfair, it is mathematical. It rewards those who are willing to become what their goal demands. It is not about wishing harder, it is about working deeper. So force yourself, not because it feels good, but because it is necessary. Rise when comfort whispers sleep. Read when the world is scrolling. Move when doubt says wait. Speak less so you can learn more. Build habits so solid that even your worst days are better than most people's best. Success is not a surprise. It is a signal that you have aligned your character with your calling. Picture a man entering a hall filled with kings. He has no crown, no robe, no title, but his walk is firm, his eyes are calm, his silence speaks louder than shouts. Why? Because he became the man before he was recognized. The crown is not what made him ready, his preparation did. So now ask yourself honestly, have you prepared? Have you practiced greatness in private before expecting it in public? Look at your day, your habits, your attitude. Are you sculpting yourself into the version that can hold the weight of your own dream? Or are you hoping to receive something you have not yet earned? Do not wait for permission. Do not beg for opportunity. Create it, become it, and the dream that once felt distant will come closer, not because it changed, but because you did. You do not chase greatness, you rise to meet it. The world respects the man who moves without applause. You wait for recognition like it's a permission slip to begin, as if the world must first say, well done, before you take the first step. But here's the truth. Greatness does not begin with noise. It begins in silence. It's born in the shadows, in the still hours, in the places where no one claps and no one cares. Yet you show up anyway, not for them, for you, because something inside you knows that what you build in solitude becomes what others will one day admire. The man who learns to act without needing applause is the man who will one day be applauded, but not because he begged, not because he chased it, because he became undeniable, too excellent to overlook, too disciplined to be ignored. While others waited for attention, he earned it, quietly. There is a kind of power that builds in silence, not the kind that roars, not the kind that boasts, but the kind that grows deep roots. It doesn't ask for validation, it creates it. And the world, which once overlooked you, will come asking where your strength came from. But by then, you won't need their approval. You already know. Most people underestimate the weight of consistent, unseen effort. They think the crowd follows noise, but the truth is it follows substance. People are drawn to what feels real, and real value is forged in the quiet of early mornings, the quiet of rejection, the quiet of being overlooked, but not broken. Think back. Have there been moments where you held back your gift, your fire, just because no one was watching? Did you wait for someone to tell you your work mattered before you gave it everything? If so, understand this. The most important eyes on you are your own. If you can't impress yourself in the dark, you won't impress anyone in the light. Picture a man building a cathedral. Day after day, he lays stone on stone. Alone, no fanfare, no crowd, just sweat, just vision, just unshakable commitment. And years later, people travel across the world to marvel at what he built. They praise the beauty, but they never saw the labor. They never heard the silence. But he did, and he kept building anyway. That's who you must become, the one who moves even when unseen, the one who acts with weight and purpose, because recognition isn't the goal, character is. So ask yourself, are you shrinking your effort just because no one's clapping? Or are you growing your power where no one's looking? Those destined to lead never wait to be noticed. They train themselves to rise when it's quiet. They witness their own growth. They set their own standard. And then, when the world finally sees them, They're not surprised because they were never waiting. They were becoming. Be your own witness, and the world will follow. Comfort is a thief, dressed as a friend. Comfort never announces itself as the enemy. It doesn't march in like fear or scream like failure. No, it whispers. It leans in gently and says, "You've done enough." It strokes your ego and tells you, "You've earned this." It sounds kind, reasonable, even deserved. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because while you sit there basking in the illusion of having arrived, your dream quietly starts to gather dust. This is the trap. Comfort doesn't take anything from you. It simply waits for you to stop moving, and once you do, it pulls up a chair beside you and it keeps you company. For a while, it feels good. You rest, you breathe, but then you stay. And before long, your days blur, the urgency fades, your fire cools, and that vision that once set your soul ablaze, it becomes a faded picture hanging in the background of your life. The man who builds something great, who finishes what he starts, is not a man who never rests. He is a man who controls comfort, not one who is controlled by it. He knows that comfort is earned, not owed. He understands that rest is sacred only when effort has been sacred first. He pushes through the moments when ease tempts him, not because it's wrong to rest, but because he knows the cost of resting too soon, too often, and too long. Think of a time when you gave in to ease, when the hard task could have been tackled, but you chose to delay, when the workout could have been done, but you chose the couch. How did you feel afterward? Maybe you felt a flash of relief, but underneath it, was there regret? A sense of something shrinking inside you? That's the soul recoiling from the choice you made. Not because you rested, but because you abandoned the climb. Now picture another man. It's raining, cold, he's exhausted, but he trains. Not because it's dramatic, not because someone's watching, but because his standard is not negotiable. While others retreat into comfort, he presses forward into discomfort. And it is this very refusal to bend to ease that makes him sharp, focused, unstoppable, not because he is naturally more talented, but because he's trained himself to choose pain when pain is what the moment requires. So ask yourself honestly, who has been coaching you lately? Discipline or comfort? Has comfort dressed itself up as balance, as self-care, as you deserve it, while quietly robbing you of the man you are becoming? You don't need to become a machine. You don't need to burn out, but you do need to draw the line, because comfort, when left unchecked, will become your silent captor, and it will dress your failure in soft, convincing excuses. Force yourself to lean into what's hard. Train your body when it's tired. Sit down to work when your mind drifts. Make the call, write the page, do the thing, especially when you'd rather not. Because that resistance, that hesitation, that's the very place where strength is born. And remember, the man who conquers comfort doesn't just conquer fatigue or laziness. He conquers the voice that says later. He conquers the temptation to stay small. He conquers himself. And once you do that, there's nothing left you can't conquer. Time is not repeating. It is running out. You move through your days as if they're unlimited, as if there's a never-ending stream of mornings waiting to greet you. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, that you'll commit when the time is right, that the opportunity will return. But time doesn't work like that. It doesn't pause for your hesitation. It doesn't rewind when you change your mind. It only moves forward, always forward. And every second you waste is a second gone forever. You are not promised another sunrise. You are not guaranteed another breath. And yet, you treat time like it owes you, as if you've signed some secret contract that grants you more chances, more tomorrows, more slack. That is the great lie. Time owes you nothing. It is not loyal. It is not merciful. It simply is here, now, and then gone. Every day you postpone your purpose, you pay with a piece of your life you will never get back. Think of each day as a coin, not one you can save, not one you can earn more of, just one. Fresh each morning, gone each night. And you get to choose. Spend it wisely or throw it away on distractions, doubts, and delay. Most people waste their days like spare change, tossing them toward comfort, toward numbing, toward avoidance. And then one day they look up and the pile is gone. No warning, no refill, just the cold silence of too late. Picture this. An hourglass sits on your table. The sand slips through, grain by grain. You don't know how many grains are left in the top, but you feel the weight of those that have already fallen. You can feel the thinning. And yet, what do? You scroll. You second guess, you sleep in, you wait for clarity, as if clarity is some package that will arrive when you're finally ready. But time doesn't care about your clarity. It continues. Indifferent to your indecision, ask yourself, what if you were told you had 1 year to live, just one? Would you still delay the hard work? Would you still wait to have that conversation, to write the book, to take the risk? No, you wouldn't. You'd act. You'd cut the excuses. You'd move like your life depended on it, because it would. So why do you need that kind of news to wake up? Why wait until the clock is nearly empty before you begin to take your days seriously? The truth is, the fire you're waiting for, the urgency, the drive, it's already there. It's just buried beneath your belief in someday. But someday is a mirage. It doesn't exist. There is only today, only this moment. Time will not wait for your fears to pass. It will not pause while you decide. It will not bend to your hesitation. It moves, and it takes your life with it. The only question is, are you moving with it or being left behind? Force yourself to act today, not because it's easy, not because it's perfect, but because today is all you truly have. You are not immortal. You are not exempt. And if your dream matters, you must stop treating your time like it's infinite. Spend today like it's sacred, because it is. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. It's not your ambition that shapes your future. Ambition is easy. Anyone can sit in silence and dream big. Anyone can talk about greatness, sketch out grand plans, and say the right words. But those things on their own build nothing. It's not what you dream that defines you. It's what you demand, what you accept as normal, what you allow yourself to do or not do on the average quiet day when no one's watching. That is what sculpts your future. Your standard is your true ceiling. And it doesn't shout. It whispers in the smallest moments, in the hour you choose to rise, in the effort you give after fatigue hits, in the promises you keep to yourself when the world offers you an easy way out. It's not the size of your goal that separates you, it's the firmness of your line. What you refuse to compromise, what you say must be done, not for applause, not for reward, but because it is the expectation you set for the man you're becoming. The man who wins is not always the one with the biggest vision. He's the one who will not lower the bar, not even once. He gets up before he's rested. He stays focused after the thrill is gone. He puts in more than is required, not because he has to, but because that's who he is. His standard does not adjust to his mood. His standard directs his mood. Imagine two men, same dream, same goal. One wakes at 5 because he's afraid of missing out. He pushes through his morning routine like it's a duty. He does what needs to be done so he can say he did it. The other wakes at 5 because sleeping in would violate his identity. It would feel like betrayal. His effort isn't a task, it's a reflection of the kind of man he's chosen to become. They look the same from the outside, but only one of them is truly dangerous because his standard is non-negotiable. Now look inward. Be honest. What have you tolerated this week that your future self will regret? What small corners have you cut and justified? Maybe it was skipping a session. Maybe it was giving half your focus. Maybe it was speaking when silence would have shown more strength. These moments may seem small, but they're not. Each one is a seed, and every seed you plant grows into something, whether it's discipline or decay. You won't stumble into greatness. You won't luck your way into strength. You will only rise as high as your lowest standard allows. So ask yourself, not what your goal is, but what you refuse to do. What kind of behavior is beneath you? What level of effort is unacceptable, even if no one sees it? This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. When your standards rise, everything else follows. Your posture changes. Your tone sharpens. Your energy becomes unmistakable. You stop entertaining distractions because you've decided that your life is worth more. You stop needing motivation because your expectation becomes your engine. Raise your standards, not to impress others, but to honor yourself. Raise them because you know deep down the man you were born to be. The man who doesn't just talk about potential, but embodies it. And every time you tolerate weakness, laziness, or excuse-making, you bury that man. You trade your future for momentary ease. But you can reverse it. You can draw a line. Today, not a loud external declaration, a quiet internal contract. I do not do average. I do not chase. I attract by being aligned. I don't wait to be asked. I deliver because it is who I am. So demand more of yourself, especially when no one else does, especially when it's hard, because that is when your standard is tested. And that is when the man you're meant to be is forged. Not in the big wins, but in the silent, stubborn refusal to live beneath your potential. You know what you're capable of, so stop living below it. You are closer than you think, but only if you keep going. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they quit too soon. They give up in the final stretch, the place where it hurts the most, where progress seems invisible, where the darkness feels thickest, and they mistake that darkness for failure, when in truth, it's the shadow of breakthrough approaching. The final mile is always the most brutal. It's deceptive. It feels like you're going backward. Your mind starts to scream, "What's the point?" The excitement that once carried you fades. The validation you hoped for doesn't show up, and all that remains is the silence and the weight of your own doubt. That's where most men fall, not because they couldn't keep going, but because they convinced themselves it wasn't working. But you must understand, that's the test. That final mile is where the line is drawn. On one side, the many who turned back. On the other, the few who kept going. The few who understood that pain is not the end. It is a signal that you are nearing the edge of your old limits. The moment when it feels hardest to continue, that is precisely the moment you are closest to growth, to breakthrough, to everything you set out for. Have you ever looked back at a chapter in your life and realized if you had just pushed a little longer, something would have changed? A door might have opened? A result might have surfaced? That's the cruelty of quitting too early. You don't quit with closure, you quit with questions, with what ifs. And those questions don't fade, they haunt. Imagine this. A man digs in a dry desert, searching for water. He strikes the ground over and over, each time nothing. No sign of moisture. He grows tired, discouraged, and eventually he gives up, one strike too soon, just inches from the underground spring. Another man comes days later, finds the same hole, strikes once, and water flows. But was it the final strike that did it? No. It was all the silent effort before it that softened the ground. That made the breakthrough possible. That's what most people miss. The reward doesn't always arrive in equal measure to your immediate effort. Sometimes it's